Hello, I thought I'd send a video, or make a video even, about this here ska band that I'm in, that has been created from my head. And tonight we're playing at Heaven, Anthem 9, it's Wednesday the 3rd of July. And I just thought I'd come and have a little stroll, show you that. It's got water in it and everything. So this band, funnily enough, well, I moved to Da Nang in October 2018, and I checked out the gigging scene, as there's loads of musicians playing loads of gigs here, and it turns out none of them were playing ska. So the thought popped into my head, you've been in ska bands, you know these songs, all you need to do is recruit some musicians. So I did, and I procrastinated for ages. I put it off. I didn't have a drum kit. I'd bought a piano about a month, maybe 2 months after living in Da Nang, because I happened to live in a little village called LOONEY Tunes before I moved to Da Nang for about 6 weeks, and the house I was living in had a piano in it. So from living in Hanoi for 4 months, not playing the piano, to suddenly move into this little village, middle of nowhere. It's about 2 hours south of Da Nang, and playing the piano every day. So once I moved to Da Nang, I was like, I need to get a piano. So then I got my piano, started playing at Crazy Cats, and I'd never sung in public ever before, and I'd never played the piano in public apart from when I was like 7 or 8 years old. But I was terrified, I had no confidence whatsoever. Even like Paul, the guy that runs Crazy Cats and the guy that plays guitar in the band, he was like, why don't you sing? And I'm like, you must be joking. I said, there's no way on God's earth you'll ever catch me singing in public, like no fucking way. And so played some Madness songs because, I can. And they went down really well. They seemed to go down really, really well.
What did they take?
Even all. There's the coppers here, they wear green. So yeah, and I was thinking, bloody hell, I thought I was the only one who liked Madness. When you come to the other side of the world, you don't realise that there's going to be people who have the same musical taste as you. But when you find out that they do, it's amazing. So there I was, playing instrumental Madness songs in Crazy Cats. I didn't even have the confidence to sing in public. One day, Paul said to me, why don't you sing? And I was absolutely terrified, but I sang. I sang My Girl by Madness. And I thought, blimey, I can sing and play the piano at the same time. I didn't actually know that I could do that until I did it. You have this voice in your head saying, I can't do that. But in actual fact, you can. So I was thinking, right, let's do some more next week. This open mic session, it's every Thursday at Crazy Cats. So I learned some, well, not learned, but I already knew these songs, but I was sort of practicing singing at the same time. And I thought, I can do this. I really enjoyed it. Having never sung before in public and having never played the piano in public, I suddenly discovered that I was, A, could do it, and B, really enjoyed it. Then I thought, I need a drum kit. There was let me think, maybe three or 4 months, maybe even longer, living in Da Nang. I kept saying, I'm going to buy a drum kit, I need to buy a drum kit, I'm going to buy a drum kit, I need to buy a drum kit, and I didn't actually buy a drum kit. And then one day, I just thought, you know what, I can't put this off any longer. And I went out and bought a drum kit. And the rest is history. But what happened was, to quote a well-known Cornish comedian, what happened was, I was actually, true story this, sitting on the toilet, thinking to myself, I've got to start this band. So what I did, I sent a message to like 20 people that I knew, all musicians, saying, anyone remotely interested in being in a ska band? Lo and behold, everybody was. And I'm thinking, bloody hell, this is pretty cool. I've been putting this off for months. All of a sudden, I've got loads of interest. So there was obviously myself, there was Paul, who runs the Crazy Cats open mic, he was on guitar, Abby, who's my next door neighbour, who's also on guitar, and I've seen them two both singing and playing in public at Crazy Cats, and I thought, they're both shit hot, I want them in my band. I'd met a guy called Arthur, a French guy who plays the saxophone, the tenor sax. I'd met him at the Craftsman, one of these jam sessions, and I met him there, heard him play the saxophone, and I thought, bloody hell, he's good, I want him in the band. The guy from Ireland called Frank, who also plays saxophone and guitar, and I heard him, I was like, I want him in the band as well. Need a brass section, obviously, standard. And, you know, it's really strange, there's a really unusual story about how I got a trumpet player in my band. Maybe 4 months ago, maybe even longer, I was just sitting on the beach, as you do, and a guy standing next to me, or sort of sitting, like, you know, just nearby. I was like, all right, mate, how are you? I was like, oh, I'm good, man, how are you? We got chatting, became friends. He's a French guy, French pianist. And I was like, you play the piano? Fantastic. You want to be in my band? Turns out that he didn't, but this is a strange bit. He was living in a hotel not far from me on the next street, and he one day said, I've heard a really good trumpet player somewhere. I don't know if he's in my building or the building next door, but I've heard a trumpet player, and even called to him out the window, like asking if he was Charlie Parker. Obviously wasn't, but so I was thinking, there's a trumpet player nearby. That's quite useful. It's quite useful information. So then I went looking one day. You know, I was sort of recruited, sort of like, I don't know, 5 or 6 people. I had like a friend of mine, Johnny, on the bass, who plays guitar, like solo acts and stuff, and he's in a couple of bands, and he also plays the soprano saxophone. And he was like, if you need a bass player, I can play bass. So I haven't got one, but I'll buy one, and I'll be your bass player. I'm like, bloody hell, amazing. So that's how I got the bass player in. So I knew a guy called Zach who played the mandolin. I knew a guy called Chris who played the harmonica. And I heard them play. I was like, bloody hell, these guys are like proper talented, you know. So I'm just walking past the Trip. We're playing here on Friday the 12th of July. All outdoors and everything. So yeah, I'd sort of got these people together, given them a few songs to learn, and then we did, you know, did a few bedroom sessions, and we sort of played these songs, and we played a few of them at Crazy Cats, like sort of 5 and 6 of us, just sort of like, just kind of rehearsing them and playing them. It went down really well. But how I got this trumpet player, so one day I thought to myself, I've got to go and find this guy in trumpet, and I'm going to go and find him, and I won't stop till I found him. So I knocked on the hotel of where my friend was staying, because he'd since moved out, asking him, with the medium of Google Translate, do you have a trumpet player living here? And they said no. So I went to the next door's hotel, asked them the same, nope. The next door the other way, nope. So I went to the street behind that, so 2 streets away from me, kind of thinking, right, which hotels are behind where he lived, and just sort of guessed a few hotels. One of them was like, yeah, we've got a trumpet player living here. I'm like, holy crap. So let's ping. So I asked to speak to him, and he come downstairs, and I said, listen, I'm not complaining about the noise or anything. I'm starting a ska band. Do you want to be in it? And he was like, fucking hell, yeah. So that's how I got my trumpet player. Strange story. He's from USA. He has had sort of a 30-40 year jazz career in the States, and he knew of one of my flatmates' relatives who had bizarrely sold Louis Armstrong his first ever trumpet. This famous family living in New Orleans, the distant relative, like a sort of great grandparents of the guy that I live with. So there's a really unusual connection there. That's sort of someone that I found through meeting someone on the beach, and then finding a needle in a haystack style, finding this guy in trumpet. Turns out he knew someone that Ryan, the guy I live with, his relatives. So then we got this sort of band together. All right, mate, how you doing? So yeah, we sort of started having some rehearsals. Obviously with my experience of playing in Big Ten and having, like, you know, an extensive knowledge of ska songs, two-tone songs, and drumming to all of them. Having never sung any of them before, obviously the Madness ones that I do, I knew the lyrics, I was just singing in my car when I was doing deliveries back in the UK. But singing like lead vocals, I never actually planned to be the lead vocalist. That's the strange thing. I had never once planned to be the lead vocalist of this band. Turns out, I was the only one that knew all the words. So it seemed to work, you know. I have this sort of like London accent, I guess, a little bit British. Well, it is British, but it's like a bit London. All these sort of ska bands, you know, Madness and Bad Manners. And the Specials, I guess, they have this sort of British London vernacular. So I became the lead singer. You know, having gained a bit of confidence at Crazy Cats by singing and playing the piano at the same time, I was like, right, let's play the drums and sing at the same time. Turns out I can do that as well. And I never knew that I could until I tried. So, get some rehearsals down. We've got like a 35 song set list. So we've got all these rehearsals, and then, you know, for sort of starting this band, the saxophonist was in France for a month. So all the rehearsals that we had were without him. And then once he came back from France, we only had two rehearsals as a full 8-piece band. The pianist. Let me tell you about the pianist. So the saxophonist, my French friend Arthur, he said, oh, I know a pianist. She works at this school called Mrs. Twee English Centre. I'm thinking, that's unusual. That's where I work. So I'd sort of, you know, like obviously you go to these centres, you go in, you teach your lessons, you come home again. You don't often see other people. You might see them for 10 seconds on the stairs. And then one day, I just happened to come out of my classroom exactly the same time as her, as Sasha. So we got chatting. I said, listen, I've heard you're an amazing pianist. I've put together a ska band. Do you want to be in it? And she was like, yeah. So she'd learned all the songs as well, you know, having never heard any of them before, which is incredible to learn 35 songs that you don't know. So we started having rehearsals. And during these rehearsals, I got a message from a guy from Japan. I've made a Facebook page for the Looney Tunes, which is the name of the band. A guy messaged me from Japan. He said, I'm living in Da Nang. I'm a Japanese trombone player. I played in ska bands like for years in Japan. Are you looking for a trombonist? I was like, oh my God, of course I am. I just never knew any. And he's like, can I join? I'm like, oh my God, of course you can. He said, here's our set list. If you can learn all these songs, then you're in. You know, 4-piece brass, especially with the trombone. The trombone being the most authentic, let's go this way, being the most authentic ska sort of instrument, you know. Especially all the stuff with Rico and the Specials, you know. So he was then in the band. But so we'd done a couple of gigs, obviously without him, because he hadn't learned all the setters yet. So we'd done a few gigs. Our first gig at the filling station, like 1 minute walk from my house, less than 1 minute walk from my house. It was their busiest ever night. I went and saw the guy in the afternoon. I said, whoops, I just walked through some cement. I saw him and said, it's going to be really busy tonight. He went, no, it won't. I said, it will. I said, I promise you, it'll be busy tonight. And he just dismissed it. Anyway, it turned out it was the busiest night he'd ever had. And I was right. But that first gig, it was unbelievable. It was so, so good. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to get past this. Maybe I'll go back this way. They're laying a cement path down here. Bit of a dead end. They wear pith helmets here. They're very intelligent. They wear pith helmets, the workmen. So, where was I? Yeah, filling station gig. It was the most busiest I've ever had, and they made more money behind the bar than they've ever made before. And they've been open like a year and a half. But they got a pool table in the middle. I said, if you move that pool table out of the way, you'll probably fit at least 50 more people in the bar. He went, nah, it's all right. Turned out, yeah, we had a conga. People started doing a conga around the pool table. Like from the first song, we opened up our first gig with One Step Beyond. And from the start, everyone was dancing right to the end, to the last song. And it went down a treat, it went down a storm, it was amazing. You know, that band that I'd started from scratch, while sitting on the John, sitting on the Thunderbox, with this initial thought in my head, like, I need to start a ska band. You know, fast forward 2 months. In fact, it was 6 weeks. Arthur had written down in his diary, our saxophonist, had written in his diary that from the very first rehearsal, the date between that day and the first gig was 6 weeks and 2 days. And he hadn't been in the band for a month because he'd been in France. But obviously he'd been learning. So we've been having rehearsals, like me and the guitars, me